We are live. Welcome to the 45th weekly live stream. And bit of a different one today. Normally I am showcasing the latest and greatest guitars of like the highest caliber. But today I am going to be showing you some of the greatest guitars that you can get under or maybe slightly above the $3,000 price point. This is, this is something that is quite important to me, I guess you'd say, because, for the longest time in my studies, I wasn't able to even have a guitar that was, I don't know, even a few $100s, I started out on a $100 starter pack Ibanez thing, where it's like amp, picks, and guitar all included. And so these guitars are, I think we're in such a golden age of great guitars for a lesser amount of money. And I have these three guitars, which actually are different constructions, different makers, and all have their own unique angle. And that's actually why I carry these three guitars. If I found one just like blew the others out of the way, then I would just carry that one and have a lot of them for you guys. Or if I thought one of them like lacked behind the other ones for whatever reason, then I just stop ordering them. So I hope you guys know that when I'm presenting these guitars, these are ones that I fully stand behind. It's ones that I recommend to colleagues who are music educators, which I am myself, and I could recommend to any student out there. And in many cases, these are going to beat out guitars that are unfortunately pushed on either young students or people who just don't know, in the classical guitar world yet. And they're like, oh, here's this. I want to talk badly about any specific maker, but here's this maker that typically makes giant necks that are uncomfortable to play. This is $5,000 or $4,000, and why don't you just play this? It's great. The greats played these, This type of thing is so common, and so many people that come visit my shop or write me emails, they will tell me how they've played this insert brand name here guitar for so many years, and that it's hurt their hands or they want a more comfortable neck. And that's so sad because there are inexpensive guitars, inexpensive relatively, that are very comfortable to play. So we'll talk about that a little bit in more detail. But for now, if you're just tuning in, please say hello. I'd love to hear what your first experience was on a guitar. Like, did you have a super uncomfortable guitar? What was the maker? I'm curious. And what were some of the most comfortable, lesser expensive non-concert model guitars that you've played? Anyways, let's say hello. Those of you that are watching in the future, after this live stream ends, feel free to still say hello. I will still see your comments, but also know that there are timestamps that you can click on in the description of the video and along the little play bar at the bottom. That's red, where you can skip to different parts of the video where I start presenting each guitar. I know it might be a little boring to hear me say hello to a bunch of people that are joining in live, so that's why I always say that. Brian, hello from Los Angeles. Awesome. What's up, Brian? It's 9 a.m. It's 11 a.m. here in Austin, but I'm still having a cup of coffee in this pretty mug. We have Paul here from Ann Arbor. Welcome, Paul. Good to see you. Oh, guys, I forgot to mention. Tell me what you think. I was under the understanding, at least, that my synchronization between audio and video is not very good in every live stream that I've done so far. This one, if I've done things correctly, should be nearly perfect. So when I play chords, or when I play notes, my thumb, my finger should be matching with when I pluck through the string. Is that the case? Please let me know. At least when I record through this streaming platform, it's now perfectly in sync or very close within a few milliseconds. But these last ones, I think I was quite off. So please let me know. Hello, Vincenzo from Italy. We got some people tuning in. This is great. I am well rested today. I have to say it's been such a busy past few weeks, and it's been hard to stay rested, but doing well today. And I think last week I had 7 guitars arriving when I started the live stream. So I was a little bit distracted. I was quite worried. Paul says, I've never noticed an issue with synchronization, but it certainly looks fine today. Okay, good. It's possible that in the actual live stream it was in sync, but I think I remember going back and watching some and feeling like, you know what, it's acceptable, but it's not perfectly in sync. So, you know, some stuff can get lost in translation. It's like maybe the recording came out great, but then when it goes through YouTube, something happens where there's a delay between one or the other because of connection. Who knows? But let me know if you guys think the synchronization between audio and video looks good or better. We'd love to hear from you. And again, for those of you that are just joining, I'm going to be showing 3 guitars today that are around this $3,000 price point that I stand behind. I suggest them to music educators. I suggest them to friends of mine, students. These are all guitars that are extremely comfortable, and they are actually 3 different construction types. And this is kind of why I carry these models, is one of the reasons, because, you know, different, people want different things. Some people want to stick to a very Spanish traditional guitar. Some people want a raised fingerboard. Some people want a double top that's affordable. You know, it's a lot of different things, but these are 3 guitars that I specifically carry because I stand behind them. I'm not taking on all sorts of new makers in this category because I simply want to sell more or something like this. If it's in this price category, I have to really stand behind it. And I love these guitars. These are honestly guitars that if I was traveling, going on vacation or whatever, and I brought them with me, I would hardly miss my super expensive, like, handmade guitars that I've, worked so hard to get. These are very comfortable. They sound great. They're even, and their setups are very nice. So we're gonna be talking about that. So moving on. The 3 guitars I'll be showing you here today. The first one is this Fonzo guitar. It's this EJ13 model, which I think is the sweet spot for these. It's not too low end, it's not too high end, and you get features like this raised fingerboard. You see this? It's a very nicely raised fingerboard, and it has lattice bracing on the interior. We've got tuners that work perfectly fine. You're not going to get Rogers on this price point of guitars, but it's a classy design. I like the green and the different features here on the rosette and purflings, the tie block with this nice abalone look to it. And look at this. You look at the saddle and you've got tons of room to adjust if you ever need to lower the action further. I mean, 4 or 5 millimeters, and this action's already ridiculously low. So this is good. This is really good. There's Indian rosewood back and sides on this model. And I really find that it's such a great all-around guitar. It's 650 scale. And so nice. And I think this is 3.5 millimeters on the 6th string and like 2.75 or something like that at the first. So it's nice and low, always could be adjusted more. Really nice guitar. Like I said, lattice bracing. And yeah, so I have these on the website. And by the way, in both cedar and spruce. That's what I was forgetting to mention. So I don't have a spruce one around me right now, but I do have 1 or 2 left of those. So write to me if you're curious. I did make a video comparing both cedar and spruce models of these guitars, so you can check that out. Okay. The other guitar, I think my second one that I was going to show, at least by the description of the video, is this Daniel Stark Española II model. Now, this model is a completely traditional guitar. There's no raised fingerboard, there's no lattice bracing, it's completely traditional on the inside. And as you can see by some of the design details, and of course in much more detail if you look at the photos that are linked in the description of this video, it has a Simplicio rosette and the Simplicio purflings. Just so beautiful. And what a nice way to, emphasize that it's a traditional guitar. And I have to say, it's still very comfortable without having a raised fingerboard. In fact, I think the raised fingerboard is a little bit of an overhyped feature. It does help in the scenarios where you're above the 12th fret, but personally, I don't find it difficult to play above the 12th fret without the raised fingerboard, unless I'm playing something like the Arnhuis or something where you're way up there a lot. Not just like, sometimes I struggle playing this F sharp. No, you shouldn't struggle playing that F sharp on a non-raised fingerboard guitar, or the G, or the A for that matter. But if you're doing a bar chord up here, yeah, but how often do you really have that? That's kind of my thought on it. But anyways, many people have also chosen this guitar, even in person, playing all three of these, even though it's a traditional guitar, which that's not like a downgrade or something. But it may not have the same volume as the previous guitar that I have, but it has the projection and power, everything that you need. In fact, the volume is so similar, it's ridiculous. And it's got a very warm, traditional sound. I'll just say a second about why I really like these. But first off, this one is a 640 scale. Now I carry both 650 and 640 scales of these guitars, but this is really nice because it's a little bit smaller. It says 640 on the label here, and there's a number of factors why I like these guitars. I mean, first off, top level importance. They are easy to play and they sound great. This is the two most important categories to consider. I think in that order, actually, for guitars in this range, because unfortunately a lot of people are stuck with guitars that are extremely hard to play and they don't even know it. So it's easy to play and it sounds great. Now, some other things that make these stand out: Daniel, and I believe his wife, set these guitars up themselves after they get them. Now, of course, no guitar in this price range is going to be completely handmade. But sometimes these guitars in this price range are just put in a box and shipped and never checked, after it comes from an assembly line or factory or what have you. These guitars are all checked, and every single one I take out of the box and I check myself as well. And if there's some issue, then I'm going to be sending it back. So it goes through many steps of approval, basically. And these have great low action, low enough to where, I can still bang on this low E and not get a buzz. That is great, even that F, pretty impressive volume without getting a buzz. Isn't that nice? And there's also still room to adjust on the saddle if you ever want it lower. There's also a very slight radius to this fingerboard. And when I say slight, I mean most players will play this and they'll never ever notice that. But this is something that I kind of pay attention to. There's a slight radius, which does help with things like bar chords. So yes, this is a cedar top one. I also have spruce models. This is in 640 scale, and it has wingay back and sides, which is very, very nice. And, thin, all of this, it can be said about every single one of these: thin necks, C-shaped, low action. So let me get to your comments here in a second. Pawn shop guitar for $50, no name but nice Brazilian. Nice. Hey, pawn shop guitars, $50 guitars, this type of stuff, sometimes they're the most fun. You just toss them around, you put them in the corner, you forget about it, you leave it outside for a little bit. Good memories with cheap guitars. Hi Brian, and hi Dennis from Canada. Stark looks well built, beautiful soundboard and back. Yeah, seriously. It's a nice piece of cedar. I love that he uses the Simplicio rosette here, and it doesn't look cheap. Sometimes you'll see something like this and you're just like, oh man, it looks like someone printed it on their normal Canon printer and just like glued it on, It doesn't look like that. It's very, very nice. And I love that he has it on the tie block too, and the purflings of the guitar. It's just the type of guitar that, if you play this, someone sees you playing this guitar, they're gonna be like, that's a nice looking guitar. Also, Daniel Stark, he builds really great concert guitars too, like handmade all by him, And he's come up with some interesting bracing patterns on the inside, and this guitar mimics that. So one of the things that you'll notice is like, if it's tough. You may not be able to see in the video. Oh, you can. you see how you can see this piece of spruce right here underneath the sound hole. And then if I lean it like that, you see another one. And then like this, another one. You see that? It creates like this little square around the sound hole. And it kind of acts, I believe, as like a miniature tornavo. So it lowers the main air resonance, it kind of furthers the hole lower into the guitar like a tornavos does. And I think it results in a really nice deep sound, which is really cool. He does this on his concert guitars too. Nice sustain. I mean, what was I gonna play? Oh, I know, a nice Spanish tune on this guitar. Super sensitive. I was going a little out of tune because I just tuned to drop D, but yeah, this the stretches in this piece are very easy since this Stark is 640 scale. This guitar right now is $2,600. I think if you're coming from something like your Cordoba or your Yamaha, really low-end guitar that is entry level, and you're looking to get your first nicer guitar, I would say these guitars I'm showing you today are such perfect steps, because I gotta tell you, sometimes, and I mean, I encounter this literally every day, and this is not just since being a guitar dealer, this is in my experience as being an educator and performer. You hear all the time from people, whether it's an audience member or student or friends and colleagues, you hear all the time this unfortunate news that people said, oh, you know what, I had this one guitar for a while, and then I upgraded to this one, and it might be like double the price. And you think that it's going to mean that it's double the quality. But for many of these factory-made guitars, it's simply more ornamented. You know, like it actually isn't much better. Like there was no attention to detail by hand by anyone. It's just more ornamented, a little bit flashier. Maybe it's like a prettier piece of wood somewhere. And it's very unfortunate. So the conventional wisdom, which you'll hear if you talk to any music educator, so many people say, you know what, stick with that lower level guitar for a while until you can afford a really nice hand-built guitar. And, you know, that'll be at a time when you're more advanced in your playing as well, and you'll know what you want. The problem with that wisdom, which I can agree with that too in certain scenarios, but the problem with that wisdom is that a lot of times when people jump to their first great handmade guitar, they actually don't know what they're looking for. You know, they think they like cedar, they think they like spruce, they think they like these measurements. But a lot of times you get that guitar built for you, and then you find out weeks, days, months, years later that actually it wasn't right for you. So I think it is good to go through a few guitars before you go to your super handmade concert guitar, especially when we're talking about kids, you know, that kids or teens or young adults that aren't sure. So anyways, I think this is a great step. These guitars are all great steps, and that's why I recommend them. Just say any sub $1,000 factory guitar, these are going to blow out of the water. Every single one of them will. So that's what's cool. Side by side, you're going to be like, oh my gosh. A lot of times people write to me asking about like, what's the best bang for your buck? And like, what do you think about this guitar versus this one? It's like, I've already said it all in these videos, and this live streams even further, is that like, these are all bang for your buck. I'm not carrying things that I think are crap. So, sorry, a little soapbox thing there. These are all different styles. This is a traditional Spanish bracing, fan bracing, and then this guitar by by Fonzo here is a lattice bracing, and you might prefer that for all I know. And then the third guitar that I'm going to show you that I carry in this price range is made by Yulong Guo, the Chinese luthier, and this is a little bit more expensive than these other two guitars. Again, you might find that that's worth it, you might not, you might choose another one, but this guitar is a double top, a no-mix double top, and it does have a lot of these modern features. Of course, double top, the bracing of the guitar, the construction of the guitar, but it also has a raised fingerboard. The back and sides, oh gosh, on this one, it's strange. Actually, I've had a couple that are slightly different. I want to say this is Palfero, but I'm going to have to look. I forget. I think I'm getting that wrong. What is the name? I'll check on it later, and it's on the website too. So anyways, though, there's a raised fingerboard. The tuners are a little bit better. These are, I believe, Schaller Grand Tunes, which still aren't, they're not Schellers, they're not Rogers, they're not like high-end tuners, but they are better. They are a little bit smoother. There's just like a little bit more detail on this guitar. But it's a double top, and I think that's the thing, is that like it's very hard to find a decent double top guitar that's not handmade and super expensive. And this guitar is very, very impressive, and I might have to tune it. It also comes with a nice hard shell case, straps, stuff like that. But this guitar, oh, I forgot to mention, also has the armrest. That's a big deal too. It's another nice little thing that, you know, you get when you buy a guitar like this. But again, before we get into the sound, C-shaped neck, nice and thin, very low action, room to adjust at the saddle. These are all things that I look for. And again, if I pulled one of these that I got in out of the case and I said, you know what, I wouldn't recommend this to a student of mine, then it's going back. There's no way I'm keeping that guitar, or I'm getting it adjusted or something like that. So it's going through a few lines of defense, and this is one's built in 2025, the 14th guitar of 2025, and it's very, very nice. I personally really like the rosette on it. Very simple purflings. Back and sides, very, very nice. And again, yes, round C-shaped thin neck. And this model I only have in 650 scale and cedar. So I actually haven't seen a spruce one of these myself. I mean, and this sounds and feels so good that I'm just like, I don't know, do I even order spruces? And you know, what's very interesting about all this, y'all, is like I was saying, I get questions quite often about like, all right, Evan, so honestly, it's a little bit bothersome sometimes, but people will write and they'll say, all right, Evan, which one is best, really? You know, like, forget about the marketing and the videos. Which one of these is best? Which one would you choose? And I get why people ask that question, because it's like asking a mechanic, you know, like, hey, which cars haven't been coming in so often? But the interesting thing is, some very good players, young students or adult amateurs that are playing quite well, come in and they try these guitars, and it could be these exact 3 guitars they try out, and one picks this one with certainty, like, oh my gosh, this one's so much better. The next person comes in, they play just a few notes on each guitar, and this one's immediately nixed from the equation. And you know, you never know why that is. Maybe they say it's the sound, maybe they didn't like one of the aesthetic details or this headstock, whatever it is, I don't know. But it's really a personal thing. And I think you can actually tell a lot from the videos. A lot of times these people come in with an idea of like, you know, which one they're actually leaning towards because of the videos they watched. They did their research. And that is, and that's really the way to do it. But I'm saying all this to say that there's no definitive answer here. There's no like, what is my secret? Like I've got a favorite of these three. I really don't think so. I think they all compete well. And if two of these or one of these beat out the others, I simply wouldn't order more of the others. I would just carry this one and say, trust me, it's the best. Does that make sense, guys? It same goes with luthiers. And it's one of the most interesting, fun things, honestly, about what I do. What I get to see, too, is on the other end, forget these guitars, talk about $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 guitars. Professionals come in, and people that are the best players in the world come in, and they will choose different favorites by long shots compared to other people. And they'll say, this is certainly the best guitar that I've ever played in my life. The next person can play it for a few minutes and say, they're not interested at all. So this is seriously how it works. You might think I'm crazy, but it's true. If there's a professional guitarist here, I'm sure you can vouch how that works. It's really, really interesting. Really, really nice vibrato on this thing. All right, now I'll play the same thing on another guitar. That was on the Guo Echoes model, which is linked in the description. All these guitars are linked in the description and available. So some of these, there's not many of them left. So just a warning. And I always get more coming in. It just might be some time. Such a nice guitar. This is the Stark Española II 640 scale, and I've got 640s and 650s. Actually, I think the only 650 I have is of this one in spruce, but I have to I have to look. I have to dig around. And then I'll play the same thing on this Fonzo guitar, EJ13. I have this in both cedar and spruce. Sorry, one moment. Okay. So nice. So easy to keep on playing on these guitars. I get carried away. Wow, there was 30 people in this live stream for a moment. So thanks you all for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll go back to this Guo since it's been a moment. By the way, there are carbon strings on the Stark and nylon strings on these other two, the Fonzo and the Guo. So just a heads up. These are the strings that come on these guitars. I didn't choose these, but yes. Dynamic range on this one's very nice. I can play so quietly. Right. You hear how this one really likes to be pushed, but you can also. Super cool. Man, what a cool difference between these guitars. I'm just going to keep on swapping back and forth here. Back to the Stark, yes. Cool, I'm reading some comments. Let's see. Dennis from Canada. Stark looks well built. Hi from LA. Hi, Don. Antonio, good to see you too. Oh yeah, Lou. More and more people coming to live stream. I know, this is neat. Thanasis, hello, Fonseca, yes. That, by the way, that's Melodia de uma Noite by Fonseca. Some people are saying they prefer the Stark and all sound good. Good to see these great guitars. I played Guo Echoes years ago, had a beautiful, sweet sound for the money, a wonderful guitar. Absolutely, Ross Gill. Yeah, that's how I'm feeling about these three too. They're all great guitars for the money. Hello from Greece, good to see you. Hi, Tom, all three sound very good. Love your channel. Have you played? No, I have not. But awesome. Great. Welcome, everybody. Well, I'm going to close out this video here in just a moment. Thanks for tuning in. And if you're watching this later, don't forget you can use the timestamps, not live stream. The timestamps to look around the video. To the Fonzo EJ13. Oops, dropped this. Try not to play too loudly as I'll peak the microphones. I'm playing a little bit of Villalobos Prelude 1. Probably get copyright strike for this. All right, you all. Well, I'm going to wrap this one up for today. I think we got through a bunch of different qualities about these guitars. I started off by showing you this Fonzo EJ13 guitar. These are all linked in the description of this video, by the way. And there's not many left of some of these, so if you're interested, please write to me. This Fonzo EJ13 raised fingerboard. Very easy to play guitar. All of these have low actions, thin neck, C-shaped. Very, very important to me. Then I showed you this Daniel Stark Española II. I have these in 640 and 650 scale, but this one is the 640 scale, Cedar Wenge. And this is a totally traditional fan-braced guitar. No raised fingerboard, but lots of really nice design elements set up by hand in Germany. And nice tall fret, super easy to play. Great Spanish sound. And then lastly, I showed you this Yulong Guo Echoes Doubletop, Cedar Doubletop. Beautiful back and sides on this guitar, raised fingerboard, a little bit nice upgraded tuners here, and of course C-shaped thin neck and low action. So, okay everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you have a good rest of your day. I'm interested to watch this video back and see if it is in fact in sync between audio and video on a different level than previous ones. But thank you so much for watching, and check out the video release tomorrow. It's coming out, a really nice Antonius Mueller guitar that is one of the best sustaining guitars. One of the best sustain. The guitar has the best sustain I think I've ever heard on a guitar. It's incredible. So, bye-bye everyone. Nice to see you.